just in terms of the microphones, do you mind like squishing up when you get to sit down?
Sure. Well, it'll be probably.
So you're in the middle bit?
Yep, I'm in the middle. So kia ora, I'm Pat Dougherty. I'm the Chief Executive of Wellington Water, and given the significance of this issue to the capital, I'm joined by the Mayor of Wellington, Andrew Little, and to my right I've got Steve Hutchison, our Chief Advisor Wastewater, and he's the person leading the incident management team in response to this event. So look, I'll talk a little bit about what's happened and the consequences and what we're doing, and then we'll try to answer questions from there. So we've been doing some maintenance work on our on parts of the plant, and last night during that heavy rain, wastewater backed up from our outfall pipeline, got into our work site, and then completely flooded the lower floors of our Moa Point building. For example, we have a scrubber room at the bottom of the plant. It's the size of an Olympic swimming pool, and it's 3 metres deep in wastewater. We're talking quite significant volumes of wastewater that got into the facility. That tripped all our power fuses. Not surprisingly, this has got into some of our control equipment as well. So we've had to shut down the plant completely, which means that at the moment untreated wastewater is going out the short outfall into Tarakina Bay. We don't know the extent of the damage yet. It could take months to repair some of this equipment. Some of it will probably be a write-off, and we may not be able to source it from within New Zealand, but we don't know. So our focus at the moment is, first of all, to divert the discharge back to the long outfall. There's a long outfall that extends 1,800 metres into Cook Strait. That's our first priority, and we're expecting to do that in the next few days. Our second priority is to get the sludge out of the treatment plant, because if that's left there for too long and not part of a live process, it'll turn anaerobic and stink. So that's the second priority. And the third one is to get the wastewater out of the plant so we can see just how badly damaged we are. And that's made it a little bit more complicated because there is no power to the plant. There is no ventilation. Now, you probably haven't been to Moa Point, but when you walk down into this building, in some parts it's like climbing down into the hold of a ship. So with no ventilation and wastewater lying there, we have to be very careful for dangerous gases, make sure our staff have the right breathing equipment and they're well supported. So this isn't something that can be done quickly. So I've told you pretty much everything I know. We'll what went wrong and could we have prevented it, and we will publicly report on that. You will notice that over the last 16 months Wellington Water has been pretty specific in bearing its soul as the time when the time requires it, and this will be one of those times. Could I just emphasise that people should stay out of the water on the south coast and Lyell Bay, don't collect seafood, and a rahui will be put in place. But particularly while we're using that short outfall, I think the message should be stay away from the water. We'll revisit that once we can change to the long outfall. It's further away from the coast and there's better dilution, but we don't know yet.
Well, Pat, how much wastewater is actually going into, like, is there say how many litres an hour, that kind of thing?
At its peak last night, it reached 3,300 litres per second. But that's in the middle of that rain event. That's probably 90% rain. You know, it's if you were to look at the discharge that's going out at the moment, it looks like grey water. And the volume is probably half by now to.
Normal volume is about 70 million litres a day.
70 litres a day.
70,
yeah. This is going to be going for days.
It'll be going for days on the short outfall and weeks, perhaps months on the long outfall.
Can you explain the difference between the long outfall and short outfall?
So the short outfall is literally that. It's about 5 metres long. It's just off the coast at Tarakina Bay. The long outfall is 1,800 metres out into Cook Strait. So straight away you're getting much better dilution, and it's that much further away from the coast. So that reduces the risk to the community. But I can't imagine the Rauhui will be lifted until we've got back to a normal standard of treatment.
And when did you first put out public health messaging? And would you say it was done early enough for people to stay out of the water?
I think so. I mean, we were telling people as soon as we knew, which was first thing this morning. In fact, I'd imagine some of the public knew before probably I knew. And luckily it wasn't that flash a day, so we don't think that there has been that much opportunity for contact with the water. And really, after heavy rain like that, people shouldn't be going. I mean, every stormwater discharge is carrying fecal matter from wildlife, dogs, etc., down to the coast. There's always an advice: don't go swimming for a couple of days after heavy rain like that. So, but we've been door knocking, leaflet dropping. We've contacted schools. We're doing everything we can to make sure that people know. I mean, inevitably there were people who don't watch the news, don't listen to the radio, and don't read newspapers. They can be hard to reach, but we are doing our best.
Oh, I mean, what's the problem with getting to the long outfall? Is it a pump problem? Is it an electrical problem? Why can't you get it there now?
We need power to get it to the long outfall because it has to go through our screens, and the screens don't go at the moment, and we're not prepared to turn them on because we don't know what damage that might cause or what risks it might cause to our staff.
So how long do you think it will be before people can safely go back to the beaches? I mean, the summer's only got a few weeks left, is it?
We think in a few days they'll be able to go back to the beaches, but at the moment I wouldn't be wanting to walk a dog along that beach. Unless you can guarantee it's not going to jump in the water, then don't walk your dog. But once we get back on the long outfall, then you can go back on the beach, but don't go in the water.
Some of our colleagues did see people out windsurfing this morning at Lyle Bay. What would your message be to them?
Look, if they feel unwell, contact their GP, go see their doctor. That's the only advice I could give, I think.
So what time was it this morning that public health messaging was put out for people to stay out of the water?
So what we do is we issue a community notification to subscribers, and that went out at about 3 a.m. this morning, and then we put something up on social media pretty early. I think it's about 6 a.m. this morning.
So do you feel people weren't warned early enough about this?
Well, yes. I mean, we became aware of it at 3 a.m. ourselves, so we told people as soon as we knew. There was nothing more we could do. But it is hard to reach everybody. Yeah.
Is there a connection between the breakdown this morning and the upgrade work being done on the plant over the summer?
So we are, the work we're doing at the moment is replacing UV lamps, and that was the area where we were doing the work, and that's where the overflow backed up into. But we don't understand yet why that has happened, and that's another priority for us, is before we bring this plant fully back online, we need to understand what caused that. So we'll be doing some investigation work there, setting some TV cameras down some of those pipes to see if there's a blockage or something that we were unaware of.
Has your work over the summer been undone by this? Because even if it's become quite badly damaged, right, you've been putting in new equipment.
We've put in some new equipment. Some of it's still sitting in storage, mercifully. We won't know until we get into the building and see just where the high tide got to and whether it can be salvageable or not. In some places we've been lucky, but we won't know, and it's going to take us a few days before we know that. So we have lost some ground, yes.
How much, ballpark do you think this will cost you in terms of replacing the stuff that's lost?
I don't know.
Millions, tens of millions?
I don't know, and I don't want to guess. Each hour at the moment, my knowledge doubles as we find out more. But I couldn't even begin to guess the price.
Have you identified what? You mentioned it was, that this wastewater is backed up, but have you identified what piece of equipment actually failed?
Well, it shouldn't back up. The outfall pipeline has more capacity than the treatment plant itself. It's designed to be the one thing that works whatever happens. So at the moment I'm at a loss to understand why it backed up in there, and it's something that we were discussing this morning, that we need to treat that as our fourth priority in terms of finding out what caused this. we don't want to go to all the trouble of replacing all this gear and then having it backing up again. So that's another piece of work.
And talking of replacing all that gear, of course, Wellington Water is being absorbed later this year into Te Akiwai. Is this going to be a Wellington Water problem, or is it going to actually last long enough it could become a Te Akiwai problem?
I'm pretty determined it's going to be a Wellington Water problem. Yeah.
Andrew, in terms of the ecological impact, you live right near the south coast, right? It's going to be pretty. Is it going to be significant?
This is a hugely significant event, obviously incredibly disappointing, particularly at this time of the year. This is the time of the year when people go to the beach, both for swimming, but also for just getting down to the beach, walking their dogs on the beach. People won't be able to do that for the next few days at least, and we need to follow the guidance from Wellington Water and the Greater Wellington Regional Council. We need to support Wellington Water to get that long outfall operating as quickly as possible so we can then reappraise what's happening and hopefully get people back on the beach and ideally swimming. This could not have come at a worse time. It's just an incredibly disappointing thing to happen at this time.
The Island Bay Festival is this weekend, and there's going to be thousands of people in the community. Swim then, or?
At this point, I'd say no. Don't plan to. I don't know what it's going to do for the blessing of the boats, which is such an important part of that whole occasion. The message is very clear. The sea is unsafe at the moment while wastewater is being discharged through the short outfall. Hopefully, we can get the long outfall going as quickly as possible in the next few days. But in the meantime, plan not to swim, plan not to go onto the beach, don't take your dog onto the beach, don't let the kids play on the beach. The risks are too high.
In terms of FENZ's role in this, I understand they've actually been the ones to take over the site initially. Are you able to talk through what their role in all of this actually is?
Yeah, that's something else we need to look at. So the flooding triggered a fire alarm. So they turned out, found the flooding, and then notified our contractors, who then turned out. So that was their response, and so we need to understand why the first alarm wasn't to our contractors, Veolia. So yes, they were there first, but I don't think they had control of the site. Yeah.
Hey Steve, is this the part that's affected here? Will this soon be overtaken by the new sludge plant, or is it going to keep going?
No, it's separate. This is the plant that treats the liquid wastewater that will feed the sludge plant.
Okay.
The plant already produces sludge. At the moment, it's piped to Carey's Gully, and the SMF plant will treat that sludge on site and produce a compostable material.
If this isn't fixed in the next few days, weeks, what are your biggest concerns, which the impact will be for our marine life here and for Wellingtonians?
We expect that we will have the long outfall going again in the next few days. But that's the simple part of the equation. The longer term fix, getting the treatment plant up and running, will take longer. We'll be monitoring. Look, I'm not a marine biologist, so I'm not going to get into that space. DOCA will. We've been talking to them. We will be carrying out any monitoring that the regulatory authorities want, and but yeah, I think the biggest impact is going to be on Wellingtonians being denied use of the south coast for the next few weeks, if not months.
I know you've sort of explained it before, but for everyday New Zealanders to understand, what is the extent of the damage so far that you know of?
We've got equipment underwater, that's electrically powered. Everyone understands that's not good. We've got control equipment underwater. That's not good. And we can't even turn the power back on at the moment. So I think that's where we are. We're like a water damaged house. Except we don't suspect we've got wastewater in it. We know it's wastewater. So that's where we are.
Given the extent of the damage, how can you be so certain that you'll have this long outfall going in a few days? Because it sounds like you can't really even see the state of anything at this point.
That's the initial indication we've got from our contractors who've made an initial reconnaissance in the plant, and at the moment they're preparing to make safe to get the specialist electricians in tomorrow to start work to get power up and running to that
Well,
particular
we
part of
don't
the
see
plant.
enough to say we can get this up and running to the long outfall in a few
That's the
days.
feeling, but it's initial, it's early days.
That's why we're saying a few days. It's just,
A few days could actually mean a few weeks. couldn't it?
oh, no, I don't think it's going to be a few weeks, but be applying all our resources to getting that long outfall going as quickly as possible.
What can people expect if they go to the beach? People who do go surfing and stuff, so I remember back in the 1980s when it was just going straight out, there's some pretty grim sights down there. Like, what would people see in the water?
I think
Flush
that
down the toilet, right?
I think you'll probably see some wet wipes that are damn near indestructible. I think that'll be probably the most obvious thing that you might see floating on the sea that we haven't been able to extract. But once we get the long outfall going, we will have the screens going as well, and then you'll just see grey water, very similar to what you're seeing out there at the moment.
Was there any indication prior to 1 a.m, do you think that something might have gone wrong, or was it a complete and utter surprise in every way?
Look, this is one of the things that we will be looking back to see were there any indications that anything that we've missed that we could have done better, and we'll be quite open and upfront about what we find. I mean, at the end of the day, when I joined as CEO of Wellington Water, it was with the objective of lifting our performance as much as possible to give Te Ake Wai a strong base, and that's what this is about as well. We'll learn from any mistakes we made and make sure we don't do them again.
Yeah, can you talk through a little bit what, in real terms, it means for Wellingtonians having this plant offline?
Well, really, at the moment, we're back to probably 30, 40 years ago with the short outfall going, which is far from acceptable. And they've lost a valuable resource and access to the south coast, which, when I was living and working here, we used to travel from the Kapiti Coast down to the south coast because it was got a certain rugged charm that I always enjoyed. And I think it's a valuable resource that they've been cut off from, and I can't emphasise just how disappointed we are about that. And
Sorry, so the short outfall, that doesn't require pumps, is that right?
that's right.
Okay, and so then the long outfall does require pumps.
It requires power to the screens. The effluent that goes out the long outfall is at least screened, but at the moment it's just going straight out the short outfall.
So there's no chance of the storage backing up through pipes and stuff like that, 'cause it can always get out, correct?
Yeah.
If equipment has been damaged, which you guys have stated, is there any sort of ballpark on what that will cost equipment-wise?
No, we don't even know what's been damaged yet. There's parts of the building that we still haven't been able to safely get into, or get the water level down enough to have a look. And then some of the stuff we're probably going to have to dismantle to see whether we can dry it, repair it, or whether it's throw away.
And does this raise any sort of concerns? Should Wellington be subject to another significant weather event where we see multiple days of heavy rainfall, etc., based on what we've seen from overnight?
I'm very keen to understand why it backed up. Probably the most important thing from that point of view is to understand why the outfall pipeline couldn't carry that volume of wastewater, what it should have been able to. So that'll be a priority for us. But that's not going to be easy. You know, the longest TV camera is has a chord of about 300 metres, and that pipe's 1,800 metres long. So if there is something there, we'll be hoping it's on the landward end and not out in the middle somewhere.
I think there's some sort of blockage down there, is it?
Suspect so. I don't know, but that it shouldn't have backed up. Maybe there's a badly laid joint. I don't know, but we will be finding out.
When was it last inspected? The pipes, blockages, do you check it for blockages?
It normally flows full continuously, 24/7. So we do an annual inspection of the outfall part, 1,800 metres off the coast with the divers, but it's physically very difficult to inspect in normal operation.
Is this an incident you've had to advise WorkSafe of in any way?
No, I don't think so. No, there's no health and safety issues with this, and we're mindful of the hazards we've got there, working in confined spaces. This is stuff that Wellington Water and Veolia are familiar with. We can do this. It's just you have to have the right gear, and you've got to be careful.
What's the impact on the beach sea around Wellington of long-term use for the long outfall?
Look, I think that long outfall serves Wellington well. I mean, when Moa Point's running properly, I think that you've probably got one of the best systems in New Zealand. It's discharging into a deep water with a lot of current, a lot of and the effluent's being treated to a high standard. So I don't think it casts any doubt at all on the long-term service that Wellingtonians get from Moa Point. That's for sure.
Andrew, is Wellington Harbour safe to swim in now?
I think the Wellington Harbour is okay. We're just talking about the south coast. That's the immediate effect with a short outfall. So people should feel okay about going into the harbour, going to the harbour side areas where they can go. There's no problem there.
3 days after heavy rain.
Apart from the standard warnings of post-heavy rain still remain for the harbour.
So looking ahead to the long weekend, what is your message to people on where they should and shouldn't be swimming?
If you were planning to go to the south coast this weekend, or you routinely go to the south coast on the weekend, basically stay off the beach. Sadly, it's unless you hear otherwise. But right now, don't plan to have fun on the south coast beaches at Island Bay or Lyall Bay. The risks are too high, and find something useful to do. Something else useful or fun to do.
Do you think that will affect business around that way as well, given it's going to be a public holiday?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people on a good weekend go to the south coast because it's a great place to go. If you can't swim there, you can't walk your dog there, it's likely to have an impact on those businesses for sure.
Well, should Wellingtonians be worried about flushing their toilet?
No. As we discussed, we've still got the short outfall going, and realistically, most of the volume that we'll be handling in the next couple of days is going to be rainwater. It will still be stormwater from the rain event. So no, that's not going to be an issue.
Is there any change or issue with processing wastewater given the change of pipe that you've had to put it through, or will it look the same?
It will look the same. If there is something in that outfall pipe, we'll get it out somehow, and it'll still look the same on the outside. As I said, the system there is a good system. It's just something's happened and we haven't figured out what it is yet. But we are determined to get it back into full efficient operation as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.